muskie in it that people are fishing all the time for that. They're always going around the shoreline with the giant muskie lures. There's also a lot of big bass, smallies, and arches in there. A few walleye. I've yet to catch one. Of course, tons of sunnies and crappies. But I haven't really fished it enough.
The time is 4:30 p.m. Pelican Rapids City Council meeting of 10 May 2022 is called to order. I'd ask those in our council chambers, if you have not signed in, please sign in on the clipboard by the back door before you leave, and ask everybody to please put their cell phone on vibrate. Just a reminder, at 6 p.m. this evening, we will recess our city council meeting to go into our public hearing. At this time, roll call of member Danielle.
Councilmember Steve Strand.
Here.
Councilmember Kevin Ballard.
Here.
Councilmember Kurt Mercraft.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Foster is absent, and Mayor Brent Fraser.
Here. Want to welcome those in our council chambers this evening, also those that are joining us by Zoom. And please remember, our city council meetings are shown on Channel 14 on Wednesday evenings. Just a few announcements in the next 3 weeks. Wednesday, May 25th, 10 to 11 a.m., Historic City Hall is Conversations with the Mayor. Monday, May 30th is Memorial Day, and Memorial Day services are held at 10 a.m. at Pelican Rapids High School Fine Arts Auditorium. And our next City Council meeting is in 3 weeks on Tuesday, May 31st, 4:30 p.m. here in our City Council chambers. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Hearing none, we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 2 is citizens' comments. Anyone here in the audience for citizens' comments? Citizens' comments. Seeing none, item number 3 is agenda additions or deletions. Any additions or deletions?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Item number 4 is approval of consent agenda, which I will read. Item 4A is approval of the minutes of the council meeting of April 26, 2022. 4B is approval of accounts payable listing. 4C1 is financial report, which is in our packet. 4C2 is police report, which is in our packet. 4D is certified at taxes property at 30 Southwest 6th Avenue for water and sewer in the amount of $28.57.
Move to approve.
Second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Item number 5 is resolution 2022-10, approving the adoption of the 2022 comprehensive plan. There are some items in our packet this evening. There's a planning commission resolution showing their support for the comprehensive plan. We have a memo from Sourcewell, and then a website there where the whole comprehensive plan is listed. You can download. And I'll turn this over to Don.
Right, so we have Sourcewell Jake Hipsch on this evening via Zoom, and he's going to kind of address the council and go over some of the information in the packet regarding the comprehensive plan, and then we'll have the council consider that resolution. So Jake, if you want to unmute yourself and take it away.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'd like to be in person, but I actually have another council meeting in another city, so kind of double booked. So in front of you is actually going to be a resolution for your consideration for the adoption of the comprehensive plan. Just to kind of provide a little bit of context and background of it. we really started this in early 2021. It was about a 14-month project. One of the things going into this was the city had said there's a lot of really good planning efforts. We've done a lot of park planning. We have some big projects with Safe Routes to School. We have some big projects with the dam removal, other projects, and other studies that have gone on. So one of the goals for this comprehensive plan was to not duplicate efforts. Making sure that we're incorporating a lot of the existing planning efforts and projects identified by a lot of different agencies. So that was one thing that we really took a look into this. So once you see in the comp plan, you're going to see a lot of references to different goal project strategies that came forward from other planning efforts. So that was, we tried to be really conscientious of that. In addition, we had a really had a public engagement process. We had a survey that we had 146 responses. There were different focus groups that I attended. You can see in your memo who those were, just to try to get a kind of a pulse and priorities from a kind of a cross-representation from the community. We had a steering committee that was made up of Mr. Mayor was there, and we had another council member that also sat on that. We typically, I think we met about 8 times during that process. Really flushed out a lot of things, came up with different priorities, language, had an open house, really tried to do what we could to make sure we try to get a pulse of the community through a variety of different channels. And really kind of through that public engagement, we really had some different leading themes. You can kind of see in your memo there are some kind of leading themes that we kind of heard throughout that engagement process, and that was kind of identified. One of the things that we also did with this one is we kind of expanded on that previous comp plan. This one actually has about 10 different sections, and I think the previous one had 5. So we kind of broke out and tried to be a little bit more specific. So as you can see in there, you had everything from the executive summary, and then we went from introduction, land use, and so on. And each one of those chapters really talks about, kind of what the existing conditions are and some of what we've heard. We tried to incorporate a lot of photos. We tried to incorporate a lot of public quotes that we pulled from the survey and other things, trying to make it really personable to the city. One of the things that I'm really proud of, and I think it's a really good example, is in this one is kind of the implementation section, really the meat and the potatoes of the comp plan. It really is a full list of project strategies that are really broken down by those different chapters. So land use, housing, parks, trails, recreation, we have a very encompassing list of project strategies that are identified and also ranked kind of high, medium, low, and ongoing. And the steering committee generally came up with that ranking system. We also asked the public in an open house in December that we also got feedback on that to help prioritize some of those different projects and strategies that came forward from the public engagement process. So maybe kind of backing up actually one step is, one thing that we tried to do as well, we tried to, not only did we get comments through the public, but we also got it through our videographer. Our videographer was over there at a few different times and tried to get comments on what people liked about Pelican Rapids, what was unique about it, different opportunities in there. Now, I'm guessing all of you had probably saw the video that the city posted a couple months ago. Last time I checked, I think there was about 10,000, a little over 10,000 views for that video, and about 3.5 minute video that really captured the community. So hopefully you all saw that, and hopefully that you liked the video and it was a good promotional piece for your community. So, Planning Commission did review the comprehensive plan. We watched the video. We had some good discussions about implementation and priorities a few weeks ago. Planning Commission did recommend approval of the comprehensive plan. This one would take place of your previous comprehensive plan. So yeah, that's kind of really about the planning process and the product. I think visually it's a really nice document, and it really captures the community's priorities and different projects, and again, as well as previous planning efforts from the Parks Committee, the Local Foods, Local Places Group, the Airport Master Plan. All of your other planning efforts are really encompassed in this one. So be happy to answer any questions. I think the overall the project was pretty smooth, considering we kind of were still going through this during COVID times and did a few meetings kind of hybrid and did what we could do. But overall, I think the project and the process went pretty well. I'm happy with the outcome, and hopefully you're happy with the end product. You know, Mr. Mayor, you were pretty involved with the process, and at that, I'll kind of end my report on this and be happy to answer any questions or comments that you might have.
Any questions for Jake? Jake, is this the final step if we adopt this resolution?
Yeah, once this is adopted, basically, really it's kind of just some administrative things. We get the signed copy of this resolution. That'll actually get put into the comprehensive plan. We're going to send it off to the printers and get you a couple of really nice copies. Then I'm also going to put everything on like a flash drive that has the final comp plan with the signed resolution. It's going to have the photos. It's going to have the summary from the public comments, basically all the material throughout the process. And of course, an electronic version of the comp plan. And we'll get that over to city staff. Put a bow on it and call it a day.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Jake? If not, I guess we're looking for a motion to adopt this resolution.
I'll move we adopt 2022-10.
Motion second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. It's adopted, Jake.
All right, I'll work with city staff on kind of just these last steps and get you guys some printed copies and the latest and greatest electronic version, and we'll go from there. But appreciate the time, and thanks for letting me attend virtually.
Well, thank you. Pleasure working with you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Item number 6 is Pelican Fest update. We have John Waller and third with us this evening. John?
Well, we plan on having Pelican Fest from July 7th through the 10th. This year we're going to expand another day to get a little more fun in there. So on the 7th we'll have a golf tournament at Birchwood. So that would be the only thing going on. And the 8th, so far we have a farmer's market, and we might have a couple other activities for kids to do downtown while the farmer's market's going on. But the 9th, we're going to have the kiddie parade, which will start at the Catholic Church and go to Trinity Church, and that'll be at 10 o'clock. And then 11 o'clock, it'll be our regular parade that'll start up here at City Hall and go all the way to Trinity Church. And then we'll have our tractor show in the Trinity parking lot, in the back half of the parking lot there. And then we'll have the classic car show, because that'll be their weekend. And then at Trinity will have a breakfast going on that morning. And then there'll be a beanbag tournament back behind the VF in the afternoon. And then the VF will be hosting a dance like they did last year back at the VFW. And then on that Sunday, we're planning a family day. We're going to start with Trinity's church service that they're going to have in the morning, and then we haven't quite come up with all the activities that we're going to do, but we'd like to have them in both parks that we have in town. And then we're going to have maybe a few food trucks come in, because we've talked to the restaurants and they said, yeah, if we're going to have a lot of people, we should have something. So we'll have a few food trucks in there to be a morning, afternoon, early afternoon kind of thing, and then that would be Pelican Fest. And I've talked to Jeff Statham, and he knows what's going on, so he's prepared. And now Brian's prepared.
Are you planning to change the parade route at all?
No. Same parade route, just go down Main and back up, just so we hit in front of both assisted livings so they can see it all. And any other questions?
Questions for John?
Or anything you'd like to see added?
You're looking for a motion to approve your plans?
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, discussion?
That's the weekend of the turkey barbecue too, right?
Right, I forgot that, yeah.
Do you have to reserve any spots in the park, camping spots? Or?
Not really. Well, I think maybe Cars in the Park already did they?
They'll take care of that.
Yeah, that's their job.
Do you need the parking lot between Mercantile and?
Not that I know of.
The one year you, yeah, that was because it was bouncy, huh?
Yeah, we don't have any, we couldn't get anything like that this year, so. They're all booked up for 4th of July through July, so.
Any other discussion?
Just want to use the parks, both parks on Sunday to have family-type activities and whatnot.
Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same, motion carried.
Thanks.
Thank you, John. Let's jump down to item number 8, Street and Park report. Brian's here and he has, I think he's got 3 motions.
I'll make it quick. I do have just a couple things going on tonight. Pretty simple things, but as far as the report goes, streets has been pretty getting active now. We did get to plow the 3rd week in April, which wasn't real excited about, but we got that 3 or so inches of that sloppy snow, so we did get it off. But and through that, we continued to work on the fishing pier. We still have a section left, I believe, or a section and a half. But that probably won't go in the river this year. Again, just so you know, heads up, because they're not going to do that project for extended it out. So, and then we have pretty much completed our curb-to-curb sweeping this year, which was quite a bit more than we used quite a bit of sand. So it was it took a little longer. One of the things I learned today is I tried ordering traffic paint so we could paint yellow curbs and white stalls downtown and parking lots. Maybe won't happen this year. Absolutely. We have a little bit of leftover paint that I'm hoping a white that we can do at least the Broadway downtown between the lights crosswalk to get that brightened up for the summer. But there's something holding up the paint supply. So it doesn't look like we'll be able to do that this year. Just so you're aware. The other thing, we have hydrant flushing this Sunday from 7 to 3, like we'd like to do twice a year. So we'll be doing that Sunday. You'll be fine, Steve. You'll be fine. So there's your information on that. Parks, the campground is open for the season. Got that actually. Had some water leaks in the bathhouse this year, so we got those fixed, and actually all the parks are pretty much open. Still doing a little bit of prep work in them, but that's about it. We did order the playground set for that northwest corner, along with the swing set for Peterson Park. So 8 to 12 weeks, we said she should see that, and then we'll have to schedule an install with them, hopefully before it comes, so we know when they're going to be here. We did plant a couple trees over there. If you drive by, they're small little saplings that we got from the DNR that were some extra ones that they were giving away. So we planted a couple of them, and then also one in honor of Arbor Day, which was the 30th of April. So there's a little bit larger one there too. Oktoberfest has asked if, this might be another motion, I'm sorry, I should have done this different, but we used to have those old concrete crocks that we would use and put the flower planters in. They then donated new flower planters that are a little more decorative and hold water and just didn't quite fit in those. So they were wondering if we could give them back to them or if we could sell them. And, if they could sell them. Well, I talked to them a little bit, and I think the easiest way to do it is if they want to sell them and donate the money elsewhere would be for the city to donate those back to Oktoberfest and let them sell them. And that way the city is kind of out of it. We don't have to deal with the ins and outs of it. I don't see them, I'll probably hang on to 4 of them because we do put the winter pots downtown. But otherwise there's 30 of them, so I donate 26 back to them at least, so if you're okay with that. You do, yeah, and we actually had made a attachment for our skid steer to move them around because they're so heavy, so, yeah. But I would like, I don't know what your feelings are on that, but right now they're just sitting in back of the shop taking up space, is the thing.
Do you have anything more in your report?
I do, yeah, we'll go on. The other park thing is we have not started prepping the pool yet, and not sure how I'm going to go about this. We may start cleaning it out, but we have had 0 applications for a pool manager or any lifeguards to this point. So we're going to have to make a decision, try to get somebody or get some staff there, or not try to prep the pool and get it running this year, and which is terrible. It'd be the first time in years, but and I'm not even 100% concerned about a pool manager, but I need staff. I need staff to lifeguard there. So we're advertising. We've got, I brought information up to the school, and so they put it on their information board and have heard not anything. So that's where we're at for now. So that is kind of the end of the report, other than those crocs. So.
Okay, so we're looking at a motion to approve Brian's report, which includes selling of those 26.
No, donating
Donating
back.
them back.
Donating back, yeah.
So they can sell them.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve Brian's report and donating the planters back to
Is there a second?
October.
Yep.
Motion second, discussion.
You're you revised the sweeping and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
What is that?
It's coming up. It's a bullet underneath my report.
Any more discussion?
The people that worked at the pool last year, are they all graduated or?
They have. They're both. And I've had people call wondering if the pool is going to open, just because they're wondering when they're going to build the new one and stuff like that. And I said, yes, we're going to open this year for sure, but I haven't seen their applications. So until they turn their applications in, I can't hire them.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. And your first bullet point for the 2022 seal coat.
Yes, kind of just
Just one second, going back to the pool. You were saying that you're not going to prep the pool and get it ready at this point?
not right now. I'm not.
How long does it take, if the word comes in and you've got some lifeguards, how long does it take you to prep it to get it ready to open?
2 to 3 weeks. So right now, we're still on schedule. But if we get out with no staff, and then all of a sudden the end of May I get staff, it's going to be the middle to end of June before we can open.
So the question would be, do we want to wait till he has staff, or do we want to make sure the pool's ready to go in case he gets staff?
So, and my yes, that is a good question. My concern is it's very expensive startup process. That's where we spend a ton on chemical and stuff like that to get it up and going. But it is, and I mean, we can, but if we don't get staff, it's just wasted dollars.
Does it look pretty bleak at this point, charging lifeguards?
If I don't have, yeah, I don't know where else to go.
Looks pretty bleak if you have to hire anybody.
Yeah, it really does. Like I said, I've had interest. I've talked to 2 different kids, and they asked if we're going to be open. I said, yep. Are you coming back? I hope so, but I haven't seen applications. So until I see applications, I really cannot move forward.
But once before, what was the circumstance around us having YMCA staff up here? Was that just for swimming lessons or something, or am I just thinking of something else? Have we ever had?
There was 2 kids that came from Fergus at one time.
As lifeguards?
They worked a temporary lifeguard position, yeah. No, part-time that summer.
Is that a possibility?
If the YMCA has lifeguards. I mean, I'm not even sure their pool is open right now because they were remodeling or something down there.
Weren't there a couple pools northwest of here that didn't open?
Yeah, there's some that have already said they're not opening this year because of the staff shortage. Yeah. So, ready to move on to crack sealing? All right, I mentioned to you a couple months ago that I was in the process with the county of working on a pretty substantial crack seal project this year. It actually encompasses about 90% of the town. It's 8.1 or 8.6 miles that they'll be doing of seal coating, not crack sealing, seal coating. So then, what I'm just kind of giving you a heads up. It's about a $229,000 project, almost $230,000 project. We have $248,000 in our reserves if in our savings account for that, plus another 40. So it will not deplete the crack seal coat fund at all. But just wanted to let you know that the county will be bidding this out, and it'll be working through the county. So that way we didn't have to engineer it and go through all the different laws. We can just piggyback with them, and they cover it all. So as soon as I hear when they're ready to go, I will be sure to let you know that we're going forward. So.
I see Commissioner Johnson is with us this evening. Commissioner, you have anything to add to that?
I think it's open for bid right now. I think we open bids next week. So we'll know shortly.
Yes. Yep.
Because townships, cities, and everybody else kind of tag along in the county at the general. I believe the bid opening is the 13th. So this week, yeah.
Friday. Okay.
Yeah, Friday. If memory serves me correctly.
Do the cracks and then reseal?
Yeah, that's what we did last year. We filled the cracks, and then we come back and seal them up. So that will, then they put the gravel, and then they'll put a fog seal over top of it.
I mean, what did they put over?
They'll put oil down, spread like a pea gravel down, and then they'll fog it again with that oil on top to seal, a fog seal as they call it, and that seals down the rocks and makes it a little less messy. So
You're looking for approval on this?
sure, if you would like to approve, you can. What's that?
We've already approved it.
You've already approved it, yeah. This is just an FYI, letting you know that we're moving forward. Sorry.
Anything more on that, Brad?
Nope, that's all I had on that.
Any questions for Brian? Okay, if not,
Wait a second here. If you get some applicants for the pool, will you start getting it ready?
If I get enough, yes.
Okay.
I need at least 6 to be open every day. I need 3 on a shift.
If you get 3, could you open every other?
Depending on their schedule. If I could certainly try, but if you know children, they are busy also with other things. So, but yeah, I need a minimum 3 bare minimum to be open temporary, 6 to be open maybe a little more. Especially without a pool manager, because then that third person has to float between office and the deck when somebody can't be there.
There's a person who was a manager last year, are they still around?
They are. They just had a lot of irons in the fire this year and had chose to not do it again, so.
Okay, second bullet, policy updates, and those are in your packet regarding street sweeping policy.
Yes. You already had questions on it, so that's good. What I did is went through it. It hadn't been updated since, I can't remember what the date was, of 2003. And so I went through it and kind of made the changes of more of the operations, how we run it today, not necessarily like they were running it at that time. So it was just kind of updating that policy, getting things changed around, so.
Well,
What was your question, Steve?
I've given you brief about this before, the hours, just from 8 to 4, and then you got the sweeper going in and out of cars downtown.
We do not do downtown during those hours. Well, parts of it, but not all of it. They're not supposed to. They're not supposed to. 8 to 4 is residential neighborhoods. We do the other, either late Thursdays or early Fridays, is when it's supposed to be done. So.
You still talk to me, so that's fine. Practice. I like efficiency.
Yep. So that's basically all. There's really no. If you read through it, you could see what I got rid of, what I changed, how I, was just make it a little easier. I set it out to the guys this year, and they went, "I'm not signing that thing this year because it's just so outdated." And I'm like, "Oh, yep, you're right." So I kind of went through and quickly changed. Not quickly. It took a little time. Changed some stuff and got away from. Probably the biggest thing I took out of there is a request for sweeping. There's a lot of people that do it as a business, and we don't. When people want it done, they want it done on a Sunday or a Saturday, when have to pay an overtime fee or reschedule this work shift. So, just kind of got away from that. Oh, West Central, for example, and the only time you can do it is a Sunday. Well, I'm not going to pay a guy overtime when I need him this week. So I just prefer, there's companies like Aggie Construction that sweep. There's Pro Sweep out of the Breckenridge area that comes into town and, will sweep lots and stuff like that. I'd prefer to leave that to the private. So
you're looking for a motion?
just a motion to accept the updated changes, and then I do need to change the names. I need to get rid of Richard, of the previous mayor, Wayne Runnigan, and Richard Jensen from back in the day. So I do need to update that part yet, and then I'll have you guys sign it, and we'll be good. Other than that,
So many to accept the changes and stuff.
thank you.
Is there a second? I'll second that. Motion and second. Possibly policy. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carried.
Perfect, thank you.
Let's jump all the way down to item number 17, library report. Wayne Runnigan, chairman of the library, is here with us this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wayne Runnigan. Pretty much everything is in your packet. There's a few things that we did at our last library board meeting. One of them was we recognized that city staff replaced the old damaged grates that were over the drain system outside the library, and we want to thank the city staff for doing that. The other thing is that we took action to purchase a new curbside book drop. The previous one had been damaged in a storm last year, and it had been hit by cars multiple times. So we're going to install a new curbside book drop. A lot of the elderly people don't like to get out in the winter, get out on the snow and ice. So they've been asking where it is. That'll take about a month, month and a half or more to get, depending on availability. The other thing that we did, the library board took action to close the library May 27th, which is a Friday, and Saturday, May 28th, due to staffing, and that's Memorial Day weekend. So notices will be put out on Facebook and in the library, so people are aware of that. The other thing in my report, and you have that in your packets, is the final payment for the library roof. And that was recommended by the architect, Scott DeMartelay, and he sent that to Don. And our board authorized payment of that. So I don't know if you want to call that out as a separate motion to make sure it's a final thing or not, or just include it in the report. But I guess I emailed Don and Brent, and Scott had told me that he would never finalize it until he was satisfied that all the vendors had been paid and that nobody could come back on the city. So I assume that when he did that, that was his, final stamp of approval. He said legally we can't withhold money from them if they've performed everything that, according to the contract. So wasn't the most pleasant experience to go through. Wasn't the best contractor, but it is what it is. So I think
All damage has been fixed.
yeah. Well, yeah. And the funny thing is the architect has talked to other contractors that have said they've been great to work with, but they were never the general contractor. They were always a sub under somebody else and under their direction. And this project, they were on their own and nobody telling them really what to do. So he thought that was part of the problem, but I don't know. And no complaints on the color of the roof, Kevin.
Yeah. The only thing pertaining to this then would be, I think, the council approving the transfer of the $23,663 from the general fund, because not on our bill listing, transferring it into the library fund.
Yeah, it's just got to go through the accounting.
Yeah, you approve the transfer of that money from the general fund to the library.
So moved.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried.
So was that the roof or the library report or everything?
Let's make a motion to approve the library report on a separate motion.
I make a motion to approve the library report if you give it.
Second? Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried.
Thank you.
We'll jump up to item number 9, Burton Funeral Home, and this evening we have Jay Pepnick and Chris Smith with us this evening. I'll turn it over to Don so he can give a little introduction to this topic.
Sure. Well, I think, we've been kind of looking at, after some discussion many moons ago, regarding the upstairs and what to do with the upstairs space in City Hall. And there was that feeling that, if somebody came along and decided they would like to potentially do something with that upstairs, that the council would consider turning it over or selling it or transferring or whatever to get back on the tax rolls. Well, through some discussion starting out with Jay Pesnick regarding some of the plans that the funeral home was looking at doing, we were brainstorming and thinking of a bunch of different options, potential options, and without making taking a long time to go through this whole story, what they come down to was after walking through the upstairs area, they really liked that space. And so what's kind of been happening over a period of time is they've had different facilities guys on their end and management or whatever come through and look at the space upstairs. And at this point, they've decided to come to the city council with a concept, with a proposal, and talk to the council about the upstairs and their project. And I think with that, what I would probably like to do is just turn it over to either Jade or Mr. Chris Smith is here today, and have them kind of go over the information that was in your packet. I've got the summary, I've got the floor plan and everything in the packet, and I can put it on the screen too, so.
Sure. Hi, I'm Chris Smith with Burton, and we own the Larson Funeral Home in town here. And if you've looked through this, you can see that we're actually very excited about this opportunity. We've been looking for another location for Larson for quite some time, but financially, to build new and to find the right size or the right location has been difficult. But when this came available and I connected with Don and we talked about it, we think this would be a great option for relocating Larson over here. Just a couple of points to talk about. It's a shell space, so it's rather expensive to build out. And as soon as that floor would be occupied, it's our understanding that fire code would require the building to be fully sprinkled, which means both floors, because as you can see now, neither floor is sprinkled, and the cost for that is about $100,000. So when we factor that in, as well as the amount of work we need to put in upstairs, because it's a shell space, it needs new electrical, plumbing, it needs a ceiling, and really there's no walls built out. We need new restrooms. And in addition to what I mentioned on here, I was also thinking about the outside. We really need to redo the landscaping on the south side. It's pretty overgrown over there. So other than the shell space, we're kind of starting from scratch up there. So the fact that the city would consider donating the building and that parking lot to us so we could build it out, we're excited about the concept. And what I also mentioned here is asking that the city would consider donating 50% of the sprinkler costs since we need to do both floors. 50% would be the equivalent of this floor sprinkler system. So for the city's city offices down here, the sprinkler system for that. And in addition, one other note on there is, another reason the cost is high is that we need to construct a 2-stall garage for the coach and funeral home vehicles, the fleet there, the 2 vehicles we have. So, in summary, I guess I would like to think this is a benefit to both parties in that it's a great new location. I think Jade would agree for a funeral home. You could have a reputable business up there. It's been empty for quite a few years now, from what I understand. And again, we'd be back on the tax roll to have it occupied again. So, with that, I would just ask if you have any questions on the plans or on the notes.
Questions, council?
I have a whole lot. I have a bunch of them.
Sure.
Well, I'm not ready.
How do you do the lot split for Blackwood? I kind of think what would happen, kind of to go forward with it would be getting the attorneys involved to put together a description of what it is that's being transferred or sold to Burton, and then in that it would basically define the space, and then what the county, I believe at the county level, what would happen is there would just be a separate parcel number assigned to the upper floor of City Hall. And also not just the upper floor of City Hall, because in this would be also the parking lot. There'd be some exterior too, but they would just kind of define, it would be defined in the purchase agreement, surveying and whatever,
Yes.
and then the county would assign a separate parcel number for that.
Is that your understanding too?
Yeah, so, we've talked about this with our attorney as well as to how it would work. It would be, the way I look at it is the building would become, for lack of a better description, a condominium situation where you'd have the first floor, we'd have the second floor. So there would be an agreement as far as shared expenses and how we'd handle that. And then the south half, basically the south half of the lot, right, Don? Give or take?
North half?
Sorry, north half. I got turned around when I came into town. The north half of the lot would be part of that parcel. So the new parcel would include the north half of the lot and the second floor of the building.
Okay.
And then this parcel, of course, would be the first floor and the other half. So,
Chris?
Yes.
I was opposed to putting money into this building, so I'm kind of a problem, but.
yeah, understood.
Can you do 2 floors for 100,000, really, with a sprinkler?
Yeah. Yeah, we had it priced out. Yep, they need to bring in a larger water line. For the spring, needs a separate water line because the domestic's not big enough. But we had it priced out though and bid out. Our project manager did that about 6 months ago.
See, I think you should have the whole building, that's where I'm at. Because we spent all this money and not much thought was given to us for the staff down here.
Mhm.
That's not your problem, but,
Yeah.
so that's where I'm at. I just,
Would you consider owning the whole building?
I did make that proposal to Burton's owner, and not really at this point. That being said, I would I would also there was another thought that's come up recently, and that was not to split the building into 2 pieces and the lot into 2 pieces, but rather do a long-term lease. City would maintain ownership and do a long-term lease for that floor. I think the splitting the lot and purchasing it would be our preference, but a lease could be another option. So, just something to think about. But as far as owning the whole building, we're not really in the investment business with real estate. We're in the funeral home business. So, in fact, we're throughout the company we're trying to divest ourselves of any additional real estate like that. So.
Are you on a tight schedule at this point? Or?
Well, we have preliminary plans and preliminary pricing, and we're ready to move forward, whenever you are, if we can come to terms. Yeah.
If I may,
Yeah,
Sure.
you want to address the
Sure.
microphone? Here on TV.
Wayne Johnson, County Commissioner, Otter County. 2 things. I think the condominium split's pretty easy as far as the tax people go. It's just a horizontal split instead of a vertical split. So county-wise, I think that is pretty easy to do. We do it with condominiums all the time. I guess my question as looking at county and housing and those kinds of things, what's the plan for the current funeral home if this moves forward? Could it become, is that our residentially zoned and so it would revert back to that? Would it be, since it's existing commercial, would it be considered, something that I think the council and the county would like to think about is could that be turned into housing? Because that would gain us a little housing in Pelican Rapids also. So I just want to throw that out there, being I'm on that end of the spectrum also. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It lives zoned residentially, but Burton as the owner, and he'd have to answer the question about what they potentially would do with that property.
Well, yeah, ideally, we would sell it. As far as what it could be used for, I would leave that wide open to the city, whatever the highest and best use of that location is, whether it's residential. I doubt it would be another business. There's not a lot of businesses located in residential areas these days, so I would say it actually makes sense to look at it as a potential residential, multi-unit. Or if somebody, wanted it's a 100-year-old, almost a historic landmark in town, I would imagine that somebody may want to purchase it and restore it too.
Questions?
well, I'm opposed, I'm in the minority here,
Upstate.
But I can see a new building like, say, on the corner of the lot over there.
You're not opposed to the project, you
No,
think
no.
they should have the whole work.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not so opposed to it as you were.
Well, you guys are, and you don't have to put anything down here, just leave it empty then. But you don't have to do the sprinkler.
I actually,
Well-
I've had a discussion with Jay too about, take the whole works, knock out the windows, this is a garage, you're done.
Yeah.
But, again, I don't know, that's,
That is a good question about the sprinklers, though. If it remained empty, if it wouldn't need to be sprinkled, that would be a question for the building official who would, discuss it with the fire marshal, but.
Comes down to what you're storing down there.
Yeah.
About all that, what we
Yeah.
deciding if we needed sprinklers or not.
Yeah. What it's the use, exactly.
I guess when you look at our situation of the fact that with these other projects that we've got going on, we're probably not gonna build a new city hall right now. Until some of those are either resolved or taken off the table in one way or another. So I think we should go forward with what they're proposing.
Unless we give them the whole, or get rid of the whole building and then we lease from them for the period of time until we're in such a position as to build someplace else.
Still lose sprinklers in.
We'd still probably have to put sprinklers in.
So I drove around the senior citizens building a few times a few nights ago, and you could move in there, right? Administration? No, not you.
I know.
He's trying to find us a new home.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we found out during COVID, you really don't have to be here so much, so. Or do you?
Even if they did, not to be the devil's advocate, but if they did choose to move in down there, all the ADA updates would still have to be done for work there.
Correct, that building needs probably $750,000 plus to make it ADA compliant and updated because it needs HVAC, it needs roof, it needs everything.
Yeah, that's right. I said we should tear it down.
Commissioner Johnson?
Interestingly enough, this conversation similar was held about our Earhart garage and Earhart's Grove Township and those things, and that's government to government. I'm going to put this scenario in front of you and let you think about it because the county just is kind of dealing with the same thing. If you're going to give or sell the upstairs for $1, I would suggest that you get in return what they have now so that could be redeveloped either by the HRA or by somebody like that. Because why would you give them for $1 this property and then not get that back? Just a question that I think you need to think about because then the city could be in control because as Kevin said in a previous conversation, it'd be nice to be able to control who ends up with property in Pelican Rapids. And I'm just saying that maybe you want to consider that as you move forward. They're getting, if I hear this correctly, they theoretically would get the entire upstairs of this building. Why is it that you wouldn't take control of the building they have once they move in here so that you can control the housing or development or scenario of what's going on there rather than them sell it for profit and you lost out on the ability to do something development-wise, much like other places in the city? Just my question to you for you to think about. I'm looking at the housing aspect, so the HRA and the CDA would be lovely owners of that building over there because then we could redevelop, then the HRA and CDA could redevelop that into multifamily housing and those kinds of things, and yet the exchange of dollars wouldn't be overwhelming. But they're asking for that for $1, including the parking. I'm asking for that for $1 in exchange. Just something to think about.
What is that zone? What is the current funeral home zone? Is that R1 or 2? Zone resident, 1 or 2? Because if it's zone, if I'm going to guess, I'm going to guess 1 because everything around there's single family homes. So it wouldn't be able to be developed as multifamily housing. Duplex. But if it could be a quadplex, for instance, because you'd be just rezoning it from R1 to R2, because it's still the residential component, I don't see a problem with that. You've got that in other areas of town.
It's commercial now.
It's not zone commercial.
No, but it's uses.
Yeah.
Correct. But, you know, I'm curious, what's your reaction to that?
To a trade? Well, I will say, part of our financial model included selling that.
That was what was going through my mind.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, and it's because, well, a pretty significant investment up there in part, but also because this is not, this location isn't, you know, one of our higher volume locations. It's not the busiest, so, you know, it's a matter of the investment and return on investment setup. So, and that's why this being a unique opportunity made it so attractive, because any other options we've ever looked at over the years, as Jade could attest to, whether it was buying land and building or any others, when the finances and the numbers were put together, it just didn't make sense.
Do you have
So.
to wait for that to sell before you start the project?
No. No. No, we would want to start because it really wouldn't work otherwise. Because this will take, I'm estimating 6 to 9 months. I'm factoring in the lot, drawing up the lot, you know, doing the legal work and the surveying and that sort of thing, but at least 6 months to build it, so. But we would, you know, that would go on the market somewhere into the project, I'm assuming. Because we know we've had others that we've sold, some take years to sell. So.
If these plans, what the city council did not work out, do you have other plans?
No. No, this was, yeah, again, this is being a kind of a unique opportunity with this floor and the understanding we have with, you know, with the low cost of the real estate itself. It made it attractive, very attractive, so, yes.
Could you tell me, what's a new building cost for you guys?
Well, I usually go by square foot, and I would say new funeral home, well, really any commercial building, probably $250 a foot, $300 a foot. So, you know, this is 7,000 square feet, 2 million. For a similar size space to this, probably, yeah. And that does not include the real estate. That would just be to build it.
Is the council ready to make any type of decision today?
You'll never fail, someone gives me feedback, like Wayne just did, that I hadn't thought of. You know, when you get that downtown.
The other side of that, though, is it's doing nothing now. And, I mean, I understand, you know, Wayne's comments make sense, but at the same time, the person that were to buy a funeral home, let's just say it's not move-in ready. There's some adaptions that would have to be made at the buyer's expense. So, yeah, I agree with Steve. I believe that we should go forward with the project, let them go forward with the project.
Would you be at all interested in going forward with the project if we said, no, we're not interested in sharing the cost of the sprinkler system?
We have thought about that. It would make it more difficult to build it the way we want to build it. So we're in a really tight budget with it the way it is, so.
If we didn't want to share the cost, they can have it for the dollar, but we're not going to share the cost on the sprinkler.
Of the sprinkler system, yeah. It would make it quite a bit more difficult, I think, because.
My opinion is we're getting the benefits of that sprinkler system, we're paying for. You wouldn't expect me to pay to sprinkle your house if it's.
No, but I don't.
You're not gonna need a house for a dollar.
Sprinkler system down here unless there's an occupancy upstairs.
Right.
Period. So we can, you know.
The other thing to consider about that is, say we go through with it and the sprinkler system's put in, and then you guys come up with a wonderful plan for a new city hall, this building will already have that system in it, and it may, because you're gonna have to sell the downstairs. And it might make it a whole lot easier to sell the sprinkler system in it, depending on what wants to buy it, you know.
And at that point, the sprinkler system will be more expensive.
You priced 6 months ago, it's probably already more expensive.
Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we get it, you put up a new city hall, and this location becomes a community center. And, which will need a sprinkler system.
Mhm.
So our cost is 50 grand at this time, is that what we're saying?
Approximately, yeah. Mhm.
And whatever increase,
Yeah.
whatever increase a new bid would be, simply because
Oh.
50%, not 50,000. Isn't that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be 100.
It was right,
Today.
Yeah.
yes,
I do estimates for a living.
Yeah.
They don't last long.
yeah. Yeah, it was, that was from last fall, I'd say November, that's when we got that.
Do I
Yeah.
go to the mic or
Jane
not?
has a question.
Go to the mic?
Jake? Sure.
So I'm just wondering, my name is Jade Petznick, I'm the funeral home manager here in town. So would it make you guys more comfortable if we just said 50,000 and not 50%? And then if it's 120,000, you're not up to 50%?
It would make me more
Yeah.
comfortable if we said
Mhm.
50%.
That makes
Speaking out of turn?
Not
No, I don't think so. It's a fair proposal to cap your contribution, sure.
Right, that would make me more comfortable.
Yeah.
50% not to exceed
Not to exceed.
50,000.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm sure we could negotiate something like that in.
I don't know, just a thought, and
Good idea.
so.
Thanks.
Good point.
Well, I would move that we go ahead and accept the proposal.
Yeah, I think moving forward, it would be a matter of basically having the attorneys work up the purchase agreement
Mhm.
for the council's consideration.
So I move that we go forward with the attorney drawing up the purchase agreement for Burton Funeral Home.
And I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion. Discussion.
I think Chris is getting a really good deal.
Discussion.
Well, we're getting a good deal too, in a way, because we're getting the business put up there.
Yeah.
And sprinkler system done? What we treated? Good deal.
Any more discussion?
I just don't want to end up upstairs.
We'll all end up upstairs at some point.
I'm afraid that's inevitable, Mr. Strand. Yeah.
You got that, Lou?
Spell my name right, please.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Keep in contact with Don then.
You bet. I'll be talking to Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to item number 7. Special assessments. Sarah Kunick, she was here last council meeting with Ariana Zavala
Yes.
regarding that lot in the southeast part of town, and they chose not to be here this evening. But Don wants to talk about that.
Yes, they basically got a hold of me and said they did not, they were kind of looking at other options. They were, the timeline and everything else, they figured they just moved on. But I wanted to bring it up because I had talked to the county about this a little bit, county auditor Wayne Stein, and in my conversations with him, I asked him what happens, because if you remember when the property owner came to the city council, he said, he made the statement that he will not be paying the property taxes. If the council doesn't do something, he's gonna let it go back to the state. Well, what happens when it goes back to the state with a $34,000 assessment? That's what I wanted to know. And from talking to the county auditor, he said that if it goes back to the state, that's all wiped off the books. So we lose $34,000. However, he said if somebody buys it, because it'll go back and it'll eventually go through the county auction or whatever, and somebody might purchase it. When somebody purchases that lot, then the city can go back and say, okay, new owner, we're gonna slap that assessment back on you. So, in talking with the county auditor, he said that what he tries to do when these individuals are interested in purchasing these properties that go back on taxes, he says to them, or advises them to get a hold of the municipality that, or authority, the tax authority on the property to find out if they in fact would reinstate that assessment, so that that individual has an opportunity to get a hold of us and say, if I buy this property from the county or state, are you going to reassess it then? And if we were to say, I would hope we would say, yeah. Well, if we reinstated at $34,000, probably it's never going to sell. None of us in this room would buy that lot knowing that we have a $34,000 assessment. So the reason I wanted to bring it up again is because I went back and looked at, well, the reason is because I want some direction from the council going forward, because we've got other people that are interested, will be calling about this lot, and I want to know what number to tell them. And maybe if the council takes some action tonight, maybe Ms. Music will come back and be interested again. I've got somebody else that basically called me about that lot also.
I was also called on that.
Yes, and same person. Same person. So I went back and looked at, again, and I shared this with the mayor and Councilman Foster at our meeting that we had on regarding incentives. And I showed them all the projects that we had in that area going back to 2006, and the 2006 project and then the 2018 project. All of the assessments on them lots were about 25,000, some a little bit higher, some a tad lower. So the 25,000 number, I think, is a good number. The conversation, and I know Mrs. Munich was asked, would you do it at 25,000? And I don't think she ever really truly got to answer that or did answer that question. But I know that the other individual that I talked to said if the council would reduce it down to 25,000, he thought that was fair. And if he would possibly pursue buying that lot and putting a house on it, knowing that it's going to be a $25,000 assessment. So again, the reason I'm bringing it up is because I know that we're going to be discussing this every time somebody comes around. So I'd like council to consider, based on what we have been talking about, helping to set some type of an assessment relief on that lot so that we can get a house on it. And my recommendation would be 25,000. And along those lines, the 34,000 was basically a $25,000 assessment and a $9,000 or $11,000. So it was a little bit higher than that, but it's $34,000 now because Mr. Lamar had paid a couple of years and then figured out he was paying that special on a lot that he couldn't afford to do that. So it was brought down a little bit, but it's still 34,000. The project in 2006 that resulted in 11,000, which is now was 9, is paid for. That project, the city basically, the debt on that has been taken care of. If you were to ask me, did we collect everything from all the assessments on that, the specials to cover that debt, I couldn't tell you that. But I can tell you that that project is paid for, that debt is paid for. So really the only thing remaining on it is the 2018 project. So, for whatever that's worth. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts?
I like the idea of you know, the 25,000 assessment, because it makes it fair to those that had to pay that original $25,000 up there, even though it wasn't the same year project. I would like to see if we approve that Miss Munich is at least made aware, given the opportunity to go forward if she chose to. Otherwise, you know, see if the other individual was still interested.
That was the comment I had with the second individual was that I really truly believe I do need to reach out to her Ariana's of all too, and let them know what the council has decided tonight, so that if they choose to still pursue it, they can do that.
She also did reach out to me in between meetings and was of course not happy with how things were sitting, and said that she's chosen to move on. Whether or not that was true or not, I don't know. So I still think it should be, you know, she should be made aware that we
should reach out to her.
Right.
And I definitely will.
Well, I'll make my motion again, to change it to 25,000.
I'll second that. Motion and a second. Discussion.
I was part of this discussion, and one of the things that was brought out, and I think the council should be aware of this and something to consider with the special assessments. If we defer them, we're just, you know, we're kicking the can down the road. But we tried to help these people out. In the end, it really didn't help them out. You know, because they're not able to sell this because of the special. They bought this maybe as an investment, so we've got some others, you know, that this will come up again at some point, you know, that we're going to have street projects or something that's going to be special to put on there, and every time we defer them, we're just pushing it down the road that somebody else is going to have to deal with, so I just think that we should be aware of that.
Good point. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. And now you will reach out to her then?
Yes.
Okay. And if she says no, then you'll reach out to the other party?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to item number 11, project 9-3 county garage utility extension contract. Don.
Yeah, this wasn't in your packet, obviously, because we would have made for an awful large packet right here. So Apex Engineering put this contract together. This is for the county garage extension. And Apex Engineering, our engineer, put this together. This agreement is basically the standard EJ CDC 700 template that all of our engineers have always used on all of our street projects or wastewater projects or whatever. There's a little bit of you know, specific to project stuff in there, but it's the same as it relates to, you know, it defines the substantial completion date by August 1st of 2022, final completion date by September, liquidated damages, $1,000 a day after August 1st if they're not done, you know, that same old standard stuff. I did review it and talk to Bob about it. Everything seems to be in order. There's no reason and no concerns from my standpoint or Bob's with signing it. So unless council has any questions about it, they'd like to, we're having a pre-construction meeting actually this week on that project, so just get going. The fact that Bob, like I said, Apex created the document and recommends approval is good enough for me. So if the council agrees that they would approve the signing of the contract between the city and the contractor for that project. J&J Excavating.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion?
The pipes are up there. The pipes are up there already. So.
Discussion? Commissioner, anything?
No.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We got time for 12, Dylan?
Yes.
Okay, item number 12, resolution 2022-08, adoption of the Ottawa County multi-hazard mitigation plan, and that was in your packet.
That was in your packet, right on the screen there. This was sent by Patrick, the county emergency manager. This is something that they're asking all the cities to adopt this resolution. The city was involved in and participated in the development of the county's multi-hazard mitigation plan. There was a group from every city. Our city consisted of basically, I think the mayor was in on a conversation or two, but it was mainly the department heads who are involved in our citywide emergency plan. And so we were involved in putting together our mitigation action chart, getting that to Patrick, getting it all put together. So all the cities that participated in that are asked to pass this resolution. In doing so, it makes us eligible to receive any type of FEMA grants that we may seek out that might involve emergency planning, that type of thing, technical assistance on whatever, and just to be able to tell them that we basically were part of this, and if we could show them that by adopting this resolution, it would be a good thing. That was no downside of that. So with that, I recommend the city council approve resolution 2022-08.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-08.
Motion second, discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. You have time for 14? Item 14, Colony Housing LLC, amendment modification, that was in your packet also?
Correct. We, some time ago, Skip Duchesneau from D.W. Jones had come to the city because they were refinancing through HUD and all that stuff, the apartment building out on 108. And upon HUD's review of the development agreement, there was a concern that they had, and it was in your packet. It's this highlighted portion that was added. HUD revised their agreement a little bit because in the original purchase agreement, there was a section in there that talked about if the developer transferred the agreement, then that could be construed by the city as a default, and therefore we wouldn't have to pay any more tax abatement, annual payments for tax abatement, or through the tax abatement actions that the council took. So HUD wanted to have this language added, which basically covers that, and you can read it, but it basically, the city agrees that section 4.14 of the development agreement shall not constitute an event of default as defined in the development agreement, as long as the lender, HUD, or any other subsequent purchaser of the project as applicable, except they comply with the terms and conditions of the developer agreement. And I think that's very fair. If they just want to be assured that if HUD goes through with the refinancing and all that stuff, that the city won't see that as an active default. And this covers it. There isn't any concerns with this or anything. So my recommendation to the city council is that they would approve the mayor, city administrator, and clerk signing the amendment as presented.
I'll move that we approve that.
I'll second.
Motion second, discussion. Don, Skip didn't join us by Zoom tonight.
No, we didn't.
Okay. Discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Item number 15, City Hall personnel. Danielle, through you for a loop there.
Yeah, I would like council to consider hiring as my utility billing, utility clerk, Mary Gamble. I'd like to hire her at step 2, which is $16.78 an hour. And she would start, I second, around the 1st of June.
Move to approve the hire of Mary Gamble at step 2.
Second. Motion second, discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same? Motion carried. We're zipping through them here. Don, do you have, we have time for item 16?
Yes.
COVID-19 leave discussion?
Yes. The council back on June 30th of 2020 acted to allow for 14 days per employee of COVID leave. So if they caught COVID, they wouldn't have to use sick time, vacation comp, or nothing. They just had to provide some type of medical documentation to show that they had got contact with COVID. So currently the response to positive tests have changed. The COVID protocol has changed. It's no longer a 14-day anymore. It depends on whether you had the shot or not, and anything else. So everything is quite a bit shorter. So what I'm asking the council is to remove the 14-day COVID pay, effective, I'm calling it COVID pay, effective immediately. Going back to the typical, if you get sick with COVID, it's just like being sick, and you take sick leave, comp, or vacation, just like you normally would for any sick leave. So that's my recommendation, that you guys make a motion to cancel the 14.
I move to cancel COVID.
COVID period?
The COVID period, COVID pay period.
That will last forever.
Effective immediately.
Second that. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Can I add, Mayor, just on that point too?
Yes.
You know, it also, since it's taking effect immediately, we're not gonna go back and entertain, somebody comes to tomorrow and says, hey, 2 weeks ago I had COVID, here's the medical stuff. We don't have anything like that. We won't entertain them type of situations, so we're not gonna make it retroactive or anything like that.
Okay. Item number 18, administrator report. You got 8 minutes.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. Since the last meeting, I had a department head report, meeting. I also worked to get all this stuff set up and make sure that everything was in the packet. I did submit the ARP reports to the U.S. Treasury. So they're all set to use the money that we got from the American Rescue Plan for the 2024 project. We'll have to start reporting on that annually, whether we spend any next year or not, which we probably won't, but we'll still have to report whatever we did. I met with Amy Baldwin regarding the Pelican Rapids Housing Summit, which is this Thursday at 4 o'clock at Lake Region. Hope to see you all there. Held an incentives meeting with Mayor Frazier and Councilperson Foster. I reviewed the county garage contract documents that you just approved signing, and also attended a virtual meeting with Ottertail County CDA regarding community updates. And I don't know, Wayne, maybe speak on this too, but it was kind of announced during that meeting that HRA and CDA are becoming one. So that was interesting news. Haven't heard anything about that, but that's my report.
That's all?
That's it.
You do it.
Thank you.
Wait, anything on the marriage? Or
I only have 6 minutes.
do you have anything?
I don't. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilman. So that we're holding a public hearing next Thursday. So that the plan for Ottertail County HRA, which I'm the chair of that, the Community Development Agency, is to combine those two. There's a considerable amount of duplication of effort there, so we're trying to combine the two entities into one. They will have HRA functions, in other words, low-income housing, those kinds of things, but then they'll also have community development functions and those kinds of things. there's a lot of things that they are side by side in, and it just makes a lot of sense to bring those two things together and create them into one. And so now the advisor, the board for that, I'm looking at the clock, the board for that is actually already established. The CDA board is a 9-member board. There's members from all over the county. It'll be helpful. There's 2 county commissioners on there. That's per statute. So there'll always be 2 county commissioners on there just for the kind of the oversight and being involved in those kinds of things in economic development. But it's good. It makes a lot of sense to this county board and actually to most of the people I've talked to that you bring these 2 entities together. They're all dealing in housing, they're all dealing in rehab, they're all dealing in keeping people in their homes, they're dealing in creating more housing, they're, all of the things, fair and equitable housing, all those kinds of things. And so the goal is that they will become one entity. Through that, we have to have a public housing, or we have to have a public hearing, so we're going to receive comment. Vouchers from the federal government are still going to be available. All of the same functions will continue. It's just now, instead of being called an HRA, which has been in existence since 1972, it'll be called a CDA, or Community Development Agency. And so that's the move we're making, trying to streamline, trying to make some more efficiencies, and make sure that there's less duplication of effort, so to speak. And also, actually, personal view, put it in the hands of the citizens. The people on the CDA are typically business owners, CEOs, those kinds of things. There are 3 general managers of 3 large corporations in Otter Tail County. Those 3 general managers know what the housing crunch is. There's former school board representatives, so they understand that. And so it's a broader representation of the county and the county-wide representation. Also, probably a little less subject to, the terms on there are 5 years and they're staggered, probably a little less subject to the stresses that can come with an election. Trying to keep everything kind of consistent and everything like that within the county. So that's the process we're going through. So when you hear the words, we're going to dissolve the HRA, well, we're dissolving the HRA, but it's really in order to combine it back into the Community Development Agency to do the exact same function. We're just trying to combine 2 boards into one is really what we're trying to do. So it is what we're planning on doing. So I hope that.
So the question I have then, you mentioned dissolving HRA and bringing it back into CDA. Will we ever hear HRA or again after that, or is it?
No, I believe all you'll hear is that, yeah, the HRA will handle the functions of, or the CDA will handle the functions of that were previously known as a HRA. Your levy will still say HRA. So they're using the HRA levy, but the whole thing as far as a committee or a group will be called, it's a board actually is what it is. That board will be called the Community Development Agency. But the levy you will see on your tax statement will still be an HRA levy.
We're kind of hoping now it's going to go away.
Yeah, well, that's our funding mechanism, so that's not going away. Nice try, though. I hope that explains it. And then,
How does Otter Tail County CDA structure compare to other counties?
actually, there's about 23 counties that do it exactly like Otter Tail County does it. They use the HRA, which is called a Special Benefits Levy. They use that levy to have economic development and housing redevelopment authority all under one levy. And so I believe there's 23 counties that do it virtually identically to what we're proposing. And there's 87 counties, so there's a number of counties that do something different too. But we're not setting a mold. I mean, we actually copied it from Washington County.
Okay. So I know that HRA is involved in a housing project here in Pelican.
Mhm.
They're going to demo that thing soon. And we've also thrown another one Barbara's way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which I think is another really good project for Pelican.
I think the existing funeral home would have been a marvelous thing for us to own.
So there's not going to be anything special that would be happening with these projects once you dissolve and roll it back into nothing.
No, there'll be my understanding of it, Don, is that there'll be some documentation that needs to. We'll probably have to have re-signing of some things. So in other words, the HRA will transfer all of the properties to the CDA. It's just a legal thing, attorneys. I will end up signing because I'm the chair, documents over to the CDA, those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, no.
Our agreements with HRA, so we have to do it separately.
You may see another agreement.
Okay, so that's good for council's information. too.
Yeah, you may see another agreement. Then again, we might be, I think we can simply transfer agreements to them. I'm not an attorney. So, you might see some documents that we have to bring to you and say, hey, this is what it is. We just need new signatures on it or something like that, Don. So I don't have the inner workings of that. Thank you.
Thank you, right on time. The time is 6 PM, we'll recess our city council meeting, and move on to item number 10, housing tax abatement public hearing. We'll call this meeting to order. Remember, during this meeting, we cannot make any motions, we can only do that when we go back into our city council meeting. So Don, I will turn this over to you.
So the reason for this housing tax abatement public hearing is to consider resolution 2022-09, and this is part of that city's housing tax refund program that we are doing with the county. And you guys have considered separate resolutions in the past, and the way we've been doing it is basically as people submit applications to the county, and then we get the applications that they've applied for this program, then I put it in the form of a resolution. So you've seen these before. We do it one kind of on a case-by-case basis, as opposed to finding a bunch of lot and doing a bunch of them at one time. But this one is for the property that Kelly Funk came and addressed the council on this Holman's property, and it is at G&L Ridgecrest Block 1, Lot 4, which is this lot right here, down in Ridgecrest, okay? So it identifies the property, it basically calls out the terms of the program that we have, identifies the property, a 5-year term, up to a refund of up to $5,000, and then it states kind of when it would be effective, which is obviously, I think, would be tax year 2023 potentially. So unless you have any questions about the resolution, it was in the packet. It's the standard boilerplate that we use. I recommend approving the resolution.
Council have any questions?
Could you go back to that slide on the lot here?
Yep.
Just a second there.
Yep, this one.
Okay.
And I think they pulled the permit for already to start building a home there, so.
I'll move we approve.
We can't do that.
Oh, okay, not on, okay.
Any other questions from the council?
You know, I was just driving around looking at all those lots. That corner lot, I didn't realize it was that big.
You know, it's these up here, in this subdivision up here, these were all, you have twins on them, if you look at the size of this complete lot, this lot, it's comparable.
Which of those lots are we talking about reducing the assessment?
This one.
That one.
It's like 3 feet from my house, or 4 feet.
Right here, you don't really look at these lines, they're not necessarily accurate.
So,
Pretty accurate.
Mr. Mayor, regarding GIS, this is Otter Tail County GIS, isn't it?
Yep, that's what I'm on.
So, there's a disclaimer on. There's a disclaimer on the website. Those lines can be up to 30 feet off from the picture. So never go by those lines. And the reason is you're trying to put a legal description on a curved surface, and legal descriptions are flat. And so you're trying to wrap a round picture, so to speak, onto a flat surface, and they're never accurate. They're usually not 30 feet off, but I can tell you that they're not accurate either. They're not survey grade or anything like that. So just kind of keep that in mind when you look at some of those things on GIS.
Any other questions from the council? Any other questions from the council? Any other questions from the audience? Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. For the record, Wayne Johnson, citizen and Otter Tail County Commissioner. On the abatement that you are about to consider after the public hearing. The county board has already approved the county tax abatement on that property. We typically will do every other month, and we will do, I think the last one we did something like 20 some of them countywide, all for mostly new housing and things like that. And the thing I want everyone to, and I know this city council does, but for those listening in, this isn't the tax authority giving money to anyone. This is simply deferring the tax that will come. And there's a lot of people, I've had a lot of questions about, well, you're subsidizing. Well, we're not subsidizing, because if the abatement wasn't there and the house wasn't built, the tax on that land is X number of dollars. We're just simply deferring the tax on that house that's being built for 5 years or $5,000 in this case, and things like that. And I've had to explain that to a number of citizens, and so I just, for the record, want to say that there really is no cost to the rest of the taxpayers. It's just simply an incentive to get people to build new houses so that you have a future tax base. And so I applaud the efforts. We have communities that aren't as willing to do this to help spur growth, and so I applaud the efforts of Pelican Rapids to do this and to get these houses going and things like that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Any other questions from the audience? Any other questions from the audience before we close the public hearing? Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and reconvene our city council meeting. And we're looking for a motion to approve resolution 2022-09.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? 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 Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Now we'll jump down to item number 13, city incentive discussion. There was a one-page handout in your packet this evening. The incentive committee was Councilman Foster, Administrator Sullivan, and myself got together twice and came up with these incentives. And before you tonight to review, Councilman Foster, anything you'd like to say?
Not yet.
Okay. Don?
Sure. Basically, what we tried to do here was get something down on paper so that we weren't thinking necessarily on a case-by-case basis. So instead of, up on the website, if you remember, what we shared before was, if you got an idea, let us know, we'll consider it type thing. And we wanted to get that done over with and be more specific. And in saying that, some of these potentially could apply as you think about commercial, but we were trying to get something in place as soon as possible, specifically with housing in mind, or residential in mind. And so I'm going to kind of go through each one of these fairly quickly, but starting with the top one, it's in your packet, it's also up on the screen, but city-owned land, the first one, if available, and this is one that would apply for commercial or residential, but the city-owned commercial and industrial zone lots in the industrial park that are available at reduced prices. We don't state, a price necessarily. City-owned land in the northwest area of the city that is zoned residential is available for development. We have somebody we're talking with, but right now we don't have anything specific down on paper. These city-owned land opportunities may be at low or no cost. Any one of these things, this is just our draft. And if you guys you can talk about it, you can throw out, you can add, you can whatever you want to do. The second one really refers to the housing property tax refund program, which is up for 5 years up to $5,000. Property tax refund program underlying is actually the link to it, because what we see happening is at some point we're going to take these, we'll have them up on the city website, but also try and get these in some type of a, well, it kind of is because it's on the city letterhead, whatever, but we can share with the press, they can put in the press, whatever. Third one is waive utility hookup fee and street breakup fee. There is actually, we could stick an actual cost on that to some extent, I think the utility hookup fee, Danielle, do you know what that is off the top of your head? Like $35 or something to hook up to water sewer, not the 135?
Yeah.
So we waived that if they hook up to water and sewer. The street breakup fee generally, when individuals are having to put service laterals in to the house, we have to bust up a new street. And at one point it was a flat $500 or whatever it was. But what that was changed to was the actual cost to break up the street. And at today's prices, that could be $1,000. So, that's one of them we have considered in here. A street breakup fee would be waived if they're gonna put up a new house and need the water service laterals. Reduced or free utilities is the next one. The city of Pelican operates its own water and sewer systems, and cost of these monthly utilities can be eliminated for a period of 1 year for new first-time residential home ownership or builds a new home. The new homes on an undeveloped lot in Pelican Rapids. And the reason it's worded that way, we weren't really looking to incentivize somebody that owns a house, for example, the northeast, that's already paying utilities to buy a house down in the southeast and just move from A to B, and down there they get free water and sewer for the year. You're kind of thinking, that doesn't seem like a logical thing to do. So we wanted to keep it to, if you're a first-time home buyer or if you build a home on an undeveloped lot, that would be an incentive for you to waive it for the year. The other one, since we own the pool, the next one, free pool membership, 2 seasons of free family membership to the city's outdoor swimming pool to any family that is a first-time home buyer or builds a new home on an undeveloped lot in Pelican Rapids. And then the last one, kind of is along the lines of what we kind of were talking about tonight in the last couple of meetings. On residential lots with large street frontages that can be split into a developable lot, the city will install utility service lines from the main lines to the curb stops and defer the assessment on the resulting undeveloped lot until the lot is developed or for a period of 7 years, whichever comes first. So the reason it's worded that way, we're thinking of the example down where we just had the individual come not too long ago. They had a huge lot, they had a house on one part of it, and the other part of it was big enough for a lot, but it was not split off. So what they did was they split it off. That was the one that we didn't have service laterals to the lot. And the city just basically agreed to pay we're going to assess her $6,000, but we're going to pay anything over that to get the service laterals in. Well, so this is kind of along those lines. What we're saying here is if you have an oversized lot, that can be split off and meet our standards for minimum lot sizes. If that lot does not have stubs to it, the city will basically put in the stubs, and then to the undeveloped lot, we'll put them in, and we'll defer that assessment for you for 7 years or until you basically sell it and somebody puts a house on it. So that's what that one's trying to address, to try and incentivize some of these people to maybe split their large lots and start opening them up for development of homes. As you looked at these, any of these that you have any comments, questions on, want to add to the Bob?
That last, the deferred assessment, that probably would not apply to Fifth Avenue behind us, right? Because, those are big enough lots to be split and developed, but there's not water or sewer down that road, right?
Correct. Yeah, so they, this talks about from the main lines to the curb stops. If there's no main lines, we can't do it. And we're not adding, we're doesn't say anything about we're going to put main lines in. So, you take that as an example, Kevin, if, which is normally what we do anyway. Say we've been down that road a couple of times when the residents down there wanted, some of them petitioned to get water and sewer mains put down that road, down that street, and the 2 times that it's come before the city council, it's been a while, the council decided not to do it because there was probably more people that didn't want it. But So if there became a time where it did actually, in any part of the city where we did extend water and sewer down, those that wanted to get on it right away, everybody would be assessed. But we'd be deferring the assessments on it until they have to get on it, similar to what we did out by the apartment building. So they would all be deferred until they had to get on it because their well went bad. Or those that basically needed to get on it right away, and that's the reason we put it down there, they would be assessed it right away. So it's a little bit different, you know, I mean, that's the process we've always done. If one comes down, names come down there, the ones that need to get on right away, we'll start paying for it right away, or, you know, get assessed and they'll pay for it. The ones that don't need it because they still well septic, theirs will be deferred for a period of time.
Do we have any residential owned lots that the city owns right now? Other than the one that's kind of like, okay, fire, we run that right across the street from that. For Barkwood's property, did they do that, so we tore down the house or something like that?
That one, I can't remember if we got that or not, I'd have to look. To my knowledge right now, I don't believe the city has any, other than the whole Northwest, I don't think the city has any. I'll have to look into that one, because I remember he doesn't recollect. Maybe, I know he tore it down, but I can't remember.
I don't think so, because I think Cruise Rested bought that one.
Yeah, you're right. Like, it's undermine, remember stuff. Yeah, Rubarka was tore it down and sold it to Craig Rested, that's who owns it.
And then does the property tax abatement, isn't there an expiration date on that? Is that forever, or does that?
The program, the county extended theirs, but the city basically, we extended ours through 2025. But if somebody comes in 2024 and applies for it, you know, they're gonna get 5 years beyond that. But it's set to sunset, I think, in 2025, but I do see it potentially us coming to the city council and asking to extend it again if it's been a very successful program.
Councilman Foster? No, Don, pretty well covered. Okay.
Is there anything on this page you think you don't really like, or is there anything that isn't on this page that you think you should think about adding? I think this is a good start. It's something for us to throw out there and let the community know about.
We're looking to adopt this as a guideline moving forward for incentives. So if someone comes to City Hall, ask them what incentives are, we have something to show them.
And it says right at the top, these are the incentives currently being offered. It can be added to, you can subtract from it. It's kind of a working thing, but we want to get something in place, so next time somebody calls me up and says, hey, does the city have any incentives for putting a home up in Pelican, I can just send them a copy of this.
Again, like Don said, we were strictly looking at this as a residential development thing, where, you know, some of these apply to commercial, but mostly we're talking residential, and we get to do with this. And there were some other things that the planning council had suggested and things, but it had to do with loans and interest rates and all kinds of things that the city's not equipped to handle. So we left those off.
I think we should add on the list that statement that this is just a partial thing. If we're going to give this, if we hand this sheet to somebody, it should be aware, and they can be made aware that they can think of something that isn't on that list that we would consider anything that they would. You know what I mean? Because you had just said that, but it's not reflected in this piece of paper. If it were.
So what I meant by the top line was that from time to time, there may be other incentives that the city council discusses or the committee talks about and adds to this. Yeah. I kind of wanted to avoid, we talked about it, the statement that if any incentive you can think of, throw it out there and we'll potentially, we'll consider it. Because that's exactly what happened the other day. And I think the council should have sat back and said, wait a minute. We gotta think about this before we decide on that. And you did it. And I didn't express at the time, and I was a little bit uncomfortable that there wasn't more conversations, questions, and potentially, maybe even we'll get back to you on that. You did it on that one case of the big lot, but in the other case, you asked me if we ever done anything like this before, and I said, kind of similar, but, and that's why I wanted to get this done, because I think that was almost, I hope a lot of people will come asking for that one. It's going to be a very expensive
Comment.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thanks for hearing me. I believe you may want to consider a maximum, because at the rising cost of, let's say I need to go into the center of a street and cut the asphalt, cut the curb, do all of those kinds of things, blah, 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 blah. Today's dollars, that could add up to be a very large bill. And I'm just throwing this out there for, do you want to throw a maximum in any of those? So waive utility hookup fee and street breakup fee. Some streets, that could be a very large bill. Do you want to consider potentially putting and saying, we'll waive X dollars towards that? And that's not to say that you can't change that, but I'm just throwing it out there that as inflation happens and as all of this stuff goes up, all of a sudden 2 years from now somebody comes in and that bill gets to be $30,000 or $25,000. If you're comfortable with doing that, that's fine. But I'm just saying that maybe, because it'd be easier to say, oh, yeah, we can bump that up from 5,000 to 8,000 in this instance or whatever, than it would be to say, oh, by the way, here's a $30,000. And I'm just throwing it out there for, do you want to cap some of the incentives so you don't end up with a big blank check, so to speak? Just as a taxpayer, kind of my one thinking out loud. Thank you for letting me comment.
Would you like to?
I would put like homes on top or something. Is that page gonna be on the website or what?
Yeah, but the reason that we didn't put homes on top was kind of because, you know, especially the first one. I mean, I could put homes on top and then just, you know, think about removing any reference to commercial and industrial in the document.
Well, we want to entice new businesses.
Right,
yeah,
right.
So,
but maybe you could put both on top.
You know, because we kind of thought about that, you know, in a roundabout way too, because we were just focusing on homes, but we want to, and that's what this does. It basically deals with residential home ownership. I could still put homes on top and leave that in there, and it's not going to make a big difference, really. I will do that.
Where are you inserting homes?
I'm just, someplace along the top, I'll put home incentives, something that, I'll just revise that, incentives to promote future home growth or home ownership growth or whatever.
Any other questions? The statement Commissioner Johnson mentioned about a maximum amount for some of these breakup fees. Are you interested at this point in doing that? What would that be?
Well, the only one, because the utility hookup fee at $135, it's not much to the city, but it might be huge to somebody looking to do a house. The street breakup fee, you really, the reason we didn't put anything there is because you really don't know. It could be a small cost, could be a big cost. Plus, if we're not, the city's not partaking or sharing in the assessment of the utility line. They're paying all of it. We're just deferring it on undeveloped lots. But, having said that too, yes, the street breakup fee could get substantial.
There'd be a big difference on the street breakup fee if it was on.
Highway 59.
Right. Highway 59 and 108 as compared to one of the streets in town too, so. What we want to set that at, I have no idea.
If it costs, if we set it at $2,000, say, for instance, no more than $2,000, or no more than $1,000, and it's on Highway 59, and it's a $6,000 or $7,000 breakup charge, they're probably not gonna take that lot anyway, unless we're paying all of it. It's another one of those situations. Well, if I want to get stuck with $5,000 or $6,000 on that one, I'll have to find someplace else. Not that I'm saying we should, pay all of it, but, I mean, you wanna.
You want to incentivize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could just put tar on it,
Wouldn't there be state, DOT would have to be contacted, I mean, that, DOT would be involved with anything on 59 or 108 anyway, right?
It's just a permit application that we're working in the street and we're putting in service lines and then dig it out. I mean, they don't charge us to be in there, it's just a little bit more permitting hurdles to overcome. Because in something like that, you're probably not gonna be rerouting traffic around town, whatever. Maybe in some cases you might have to, but, most of the time you're just digging up one side of the street and traffic's going around on the other side of the street, it's frightening or something like that. But
John, do you have a motion to recommend? This can always be changed.
yeah, I can. And I think it just would probably apply to the street breakup fee, or the street breakup, which is basically the asphalt and digging up and putting it all back together again, but.
Do we have to say an amount, or could we say, in the event for new homes, the city will share in the cost of street breakup?
I think you need to be specific. Are you gonna be on a case-by-case basis? Some you're gonna give 1,000 to, some you're gonna give 50% to, some you're gonna give another number to. I think it'd be better to just do that. Maybe it's up to a certain percentage. If somebody's got if it's a $2,000 project, you need to do 25% of that one versus if there's, because of its location or whatever else, it's a $3,000 project and we do 25% of that, and maybe it's a percentage. And you don't have to decide this tonight. I mean, too. If you want to think about that breakup fee, or if you want to put something in there, we can always change it, whatever.
I guess I would be interested in seeing, currently, what is the cost of your typical breakup fee?
We're waiting to, and really it depends on if they're just, well, most of them would be because there's no service laterals to the curb stop. So it'll be interesting to see when Aggie does the one down on Ridgecrest, what that one comes in at. And that's gonna be probably a worst case scenario because that one's really deep. We know that one's gonna be spendy. And that's, that's the one that, she covers the first $6,000, and the city pays everything over that. But, so, I'm not, I know it's on her schedule to do, but I'm not sure when it's gonna get done. She wants to get a house up there this year,
Why don't we see what that one boils down to, and then decide, let's use it as a worst-case scenario perhaps, or is that too long? We don't know when it's gonna happen, I guess.
Does it make sense so that we can get this out there? Because the first question they're gonna ask is, wave street breakup fee, well, how much is that?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'd like something, whether it's a dollar figure or a percentage, if you're not gonna.
I like the percentage for, at least for now, and it is a living document, so we can readdress it after we find out what the costs say, when it does get to the project. At least it could be used till we made an official change.
So how about if I go waive 100% of the utility breakup fee, which is only $135.
Yeah.
And.
Hookup fee, not breakup.
Hookup fee, sorry. And 25% of street breakup, or 35, or 50, what percentage sounds? We can always change percentage once we know.
Yeah, let's say
Yeah.
50% right now, just to put it out there.
What'd you say?
50%. It's better than 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
And it means that 50% is a nice gesture if you're already paying for the utility hookup fee. I mean,
If somebody comes in and puts a house in Pelican Rapids and they basically do every one of these, boy, if you don't put out, if you look at Barnesville and look at Pelican, and we did all this in Pelican, it's gotta tilt towards us. I mean, my gosh, that's a lot of stuff. Other than the fact that, well, the pool might not be open, we can't give it 2 seasons.
you can still give them a pass. Swim, can't swim.
No, whenever it's open, we'll give them 2 seasons. So that's what I'll do, I'll put 100% utility hookup fee and 50% street breakup.
So we got 3 changes. We added the word home to the top, and then the $135 hookup fee and 50% breakup fee.
Yeah.
Anyone willing to make a motion to adopt this?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Item number 19, Mayor's report, just a couple, 3 items. Had conversations with the mayor at Historic City Hall on Wednesday, April 27th. Councilman Foster, Administrator Solga, and I met for an incentive meeting on April 29th. Yesterday, I wrote a letter of support for the Welcome Place, which is now called Support for Community and Life Support. They were looking for a grant and need some public letters of support, so I wrote that. And then met yesterday with Administrator Solga to review the agenda for this evening's meeting. Any questions? Move to adjourn. Hey, boy, have we covered everything, Edna?
Yeah.
We've been all over the board here. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
No. Yes.
Now you're not
Threw
gonna
up.
have it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same. Meeting adjourned.